John Smoltz calling the games with Joe Buck, Major League Baseball on Fox. Johnny, of course, a Hall of Famer and probably short on sleep. John, good morning. Thanks for joining us. When you're calling the game last night, do you sort of have that same intensity broadcasting it as you did as a pitcher?
Yeah, you know, the thing is, like, you're trying to anticipate what could happen, who's going to be able to step up, what's the manager thinking, and how is this game going to end? And there's no way that you could have ever anticipated a game like that when it started. There's no way you could have ever anticipated the comebacks. I just credit I've never seen a game like that. I've never seen offense and the hitters adjust, and it was just an unbelievable offensive game and a classic that unfortunately somebody had to lose.
But you were generally considered to have taken part in the greatest World Series in recent history, and that was the Braves and the Twins. Has this surpassed that already?
Yeah, in a different way, because, you know, when you think about the pressure of doing something in one particular game, now this wasn't the clincher, obviously. There was still room for one team one team having the opportunity to come back and win the series. I've never seen a game where the emotions were so incredibly draining, and there were so many moments where you could just, basically hang your head. You just sense that each team was hanging on like a thread. And I having known going through games like this and knowing what it's like to one, sit and watch a game, two, be in a game. There wasn't anybody in rhythm. There wasn't anybody that felt like that this game was well in hand. That once they came in, you knew they were locking it down. Jansen was not able to come in the game with the lead, so that changes everything. And like I said, managing this game had to be an emotional roller coaster, and no one seemed like they could go to a solution that was going to be feel great about it.
More surprised at Kershaw or Keuchel last night?
More surprised at Kershaw. I can only imagine what that feels like, in the sense that he had the game twice in a situation where that's why I've always said, Dan, I've said, numbers can be incredible and information can be great, but on a given night, it doesn't always fall in hand the way it would over 162 games. And he had a hard time putting away hitters after long innings. When he was in rhythm and Keuchel was in rhythm in game one, that is a fun pitching environment. That was an incredible pitched game. And they both mentioned how in rhythm and in tune, every 5 minutes they were pitching. There was a 21-minute in between innings, 19 minutes. There was so much that disrupt the rhythm that I felt that was part of what can get you off your game a little bit. And when the Astros made him work in that inning, obviously where there was 2 outs, and he struggled to put guys away, you could sense the frustration. And look, when you're asking your bullpen and you go to the whip as many times as these teams have had to do it, and on short rest, it's hard to be fresh and it's hard to be efficient. And we saw that for guys just kind of gutting it up, going in there, and they just didn't have their stuff.
Yeah, the Dodger bullpen looks gassed. We're talking to John Smoltz, the Hall of Famer. He called last night's game for Fox. Tomorrow night, Verlander versus Hill. Your MVP of the series so far is who?
It could be any of it's going to be an offensive guy. And, Bregman's had 5 consecutive RBIs in the World Series. You take your pick from either side. What Bellinger's been able to do, not necessarily making him the MVP, but Correa, Springer, it's going to be an offensive guy. And whoever is able to continue that offensive success, look for it to be much more limited in Game 6. But that day off today is going to help reset a lot of guys in that pen. Holy cow. I mean, I having been in both positions and been exhausted, I was thinking about in that game, my last game as a reliever was in that stadium, and I pitched 3 innings in relief against Houston in Game 4, only for us to lose in Game 5. You're exhausted, and I can only appreciate what each guy was able to do, even though they didn't get it done the way they wanted. At this point in the season, adrenaline is the only thing that keeps you going.
Are those baseballs different than the regular season baseballs?
Like I said last night, I trust the pitchers who have the baseballs in their hands because that's what you do for a living. And if some of them, really feel like there's a difference and it affects the way that not only it may come off the bat or out of your hand, you would know. And I've probably thrown over 300,000 baseballs, and when I had one in my hand that didn't feel good, I threw it back. And I can only say that, it's like I said last night, it literally hurts when I put a baseball in my hand because my body starts feeling really uncomfortable that I might throw it again. So I haven't had one in my hand for a long time for obvious reasons. But there's some pitchers around the league, whether it came from the blisters, from the seams being different, to the way that maybe in the World Series now, some of them have complained. So I got to trust the pitchers.
But do you think, John, though, that baseball would purposely alter these baseballs to increase scoring?
No, absolutely not. No, whether or not it came from a different batch or for whatever reason, how they get to that point, no, I don't think at all. And I know that baseball has consistently said in their research that they don't find any findings. So you get to this time, and it's kind of like this. We're in an era now where sign stealing has everybody paranoid, and maybe to this degree, I think that there's something, but to what degree, I have no idea.
Have you been to bed?
Yes, a couple times. I've got up thinking I was called in. I thought the phone rang, and I was coming in the game. I got nauseous for a second.
By the way, Fritzy, would you like to apologize to John officially here as you text him during the game to see if he'd come on this morning?
I should apologize, but I'm not. Let me just say, Smoltz is the greatest. Like literally between innings, he's taking the time to respond to my text, not knowing how busy he was going to be running after the game. So that was extremely cool to say he'd come on this morning with us.
Thank you, John.
No problem.
Do you hear from anybody else, like former teammates who text you during the game?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, I mean, I'm a multitasker. During that game, I'm sweating out the Lions and their 5 field goals and no TDs. I'm checking everything I can check.
So you're keeping an eye on the Sunday football game, and I'm doing football, and I'm keeping an eye on the baseball game. Give me an idea.
Yeah,
who did you hear from last night during the game that would surprise us?
That would surprise you? My mom, she kept saying she wanted to take a ride on the train. She thought that was cool. There was a home run.
Mom, I'll see if I can arrange that for you.
Yeah.
That's good.
For sure.
Hey, safe travels. Thanks again. And I'm sure Fritzy will bother you somehow during Game 6.
No problem.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.